This question, I guess you're asking basically about the steps I would use to gain or to create training material. And of course, I can go ahead and say that you use the basic Addies approach. Is the most common approach when it comes to instructor design and developing training material. Of course, in a real life scenario, Addies can be used, but it has to be somewhat changed to accommodate whatever situation you're in. Of course, you always start off with trying to gain information from either a product or a subject matter expert or some kind of reference, that would give you the information you need. Let's say if we're using the subject matter experts, in most cases, you try to gain that information from them, taking that information and creating objectives from the information that you received. Going back after gaining, creating those objectives, getting those objectives approved by the subject matter expert, and then from there creating the training material. After you create the training material, you would also create, in my opinion, assessments that would actually be small tests or something like that that you could give before and after you actually train each individual on what they're on what you're training them on. You do a pre-assessment before you train them to see where they're at, and then you can do a post-assessment after you apply training to actually assess what knowledge they have. Okay, so basically that's the standard steps you would go through. But of course, in some situations, you might have to adjust that. If you're dealing with new employees, you probably can go through that entire process correctly and fluently and not have a problem, because what you're basically saying is that these are new employees. They don't know any of this information that the subject matter expert has outlined. So you can go through that entire process. But what happens if you're dealing with a situation where you're dealing with existing end users and they have a wide range of knowledge in what the subject matter expert wants you to cover, but we haven't identified that yet? Well, what you would do is go through the steps of gaining that information from the subject matter expert, create the assessments for the test that covered the information gained from the objectives that you gained from the subject matter expert, and then assess or test your existing end users on the information you gain and find out where the deficiencies are. So you basically tested everyone or assessed everyone on, let's say, A, B, and C, just giving them categories. And you find out that the majority of everyone understands A, but they have deficiencies in B and C. So you know that B and C are the things that need to be trained upon. So you take that information and you create your training material on B and C. And then after you create that, apply that training, and then you can assess the people then on B and C, and you can compare the pre to the post to basically to show where how effective your training was. So that's the basic way that you can I can create training material. You can also use other modules and also play around with the existing Addies process to accommodate any situation. But just in short, that would be the main way, or one of the most prevalent ways I would use. I have used to create training material. Right. Thank you.